People say silence is peaceful, but for Dark Lady, silence was the only place that didn't lie to her. She wasn't always like this. Once, she laughed, trusted, and believed in people. But life slowly taught her that every voice carries a hidden blade. Her mother Elena warned her, "A quiet heart is a wounded heart." Her closest friend Mira promised, "I'll never leave you." And Aaron, the boy she trusted more than herself, whispered, "Your silence is safe with me." But promises break. People leave. Hearts shatter quietly. One by one, they all disappeared, Mira without a goodbye, Aaron without a reason, and Elena without enough time. Now, Dark Lady doesn't fear loneliness anymore. She fears words. She fears footsteps. She fears the noise of people who pretend to care. Because she discovered one painful truth. Silence never betrays you, people do. Before she became the girl who loved silence, Dark Lady was just a quiet soul trying to survive in a world that spoke too loudly. She grew up with a heart that felt too deeply and a mind that remembered too much. To most people, she looked mysterious, calm, distant, unreadable. But inside her lived storms that no one ever cared to understand. Her mother, Elena, was the first and perhaps the only true light in her life. Elena was gentle, wise, and warm in a way that made even pain feel softer. She often said, "Strong hearts break silently." Dark Lady inherited her strength, but also her silence. Her best friend, Mira, was the opposite, bright, lively, always talking, always dreaming. She brought color into Dark Lady's gray world. Mira used to hold her hand and say, "I'll never leave you. You're my safest place." But life has a way of pulling people apart. And then there was Aaron, the boy who understood her silence better than her words. He saw her darkness, not as something scary, but as something fragile. He once promised, "I'll stay even if everyone else leaves." None of them knew how fragile promises really were. Dark Lady had always existed on the fringe of the world, as if life itself moved too fast for her slow, deliberate steps. Even as a child, she sought corners where voices could not reach her, spaces where she could hear her own heartbeat and feel a fragile sense of control. People often called her strange or shy, but her silence was neither choice nor whim. It was armor. Every word spoken around her seemed to carry weight she couldn't bear, gossip, lies, careless laughter, and promises that always faded. Her mother, Elena, was her first refuge. Elena's presence was soft, like sunlight slipping through curtains. Her voice was gentle, always careful not to wound. She understood Dark Lady in ways no one else did. "Some hearts are too fragile," Elena whispered one evening, brushing strands of hair from her daughter's face, "and the world doesn't know how to treat them." It was an early lesson that would echo through every betrayal, every absence, every heartbreak. Life's first devastating loss came when Elena fell gravely ill. The house that had always smelled of warmth and faint lavender became a quiet battlefield of stifled cries and whispered prayers. Dark Lady, barely 14, watched helplessly as her mother weakened day by day. Each night, she clung to Elena's hand, silently willing her to survive. But one evening, Elena's hand slipped from hers forever. With her mother's passing, the quiet she had once loved became suffocating, and she realized that silence could carry both comfort and unimaginable pain. Into this fractured world came Mira. Mira was everything Dark Lady was not: vivid, talkative, radiant, and irrepressibly alive. She swept into Dark Lady's life like sunlight in a room shuttered for too long. At first, her energy was overwhelming, her words nearly suffocating. But Myra's kindness was persistent. She noticed the loneliness in Dark Lady's eyes and filled it, gently, patiently, relentlessly. "You don't have to speak to be heard," Mira would say, laughing, taking Dark Lady's hand. And for the first time since Elena's death, Dark Lady felt understood, felt seen, felt alive. Their friendship blossomed. Where Dark Lady hesitated, Mira encouraged. Where Dark Lady faltered, Mira held her steady. They shared countless afternoons in hidden gardens, walking streets bathed in twilight, speaking through glances and subtle gestures rather than words. Myra's laughter became the music that softened the jagged edges of her grief. For a while, it seemed life had given her a second chance at happiness. But life, as always, demanded a cost. Myra's father received a job in another city, and the promise of distance-free friendship quickly eroded. "We will stay connected," Mira said, voice quivering. "I'll never leave you." Initially, the calls and messages flowed as promised. Then they became sparse. Then silent. Mira had found new friends, new routines, new reasons to exist elsewhere, leaving Dark Lady behind in the shadows she had once fled. The emptiness Mira left felt cruel in its simplicity, a void echoing louder than Elena's absence. In the void, Dark Lady met Aaron. He was quiet, observing, understanding, a reflection of her own temperament. He did not try to pull her out of her silence but rather accepted it, sometimes sharing it, sometimes filling it with soft words that seemed to float in the air rather than pierce it. "Your silence is beautiful," Aaron once said, gazing into her eyes. "It is not emptiness. It is strength." For the first time in years, she felt the dangerous comfort of trust. With Aaron, Dark Lady began to reopen the doors she had slammed shut. She shared secrets long buried, memories she thought she would never voice. They spent hours in quiet companionship, walking under streetlights, sitting on empty benches, talking about nothing and everything. Aaron's presence felt permanent in a world where permanence was an illusion. He promised, "I'll stay. Even your silence is safe with me." For a brief, fragile time, Dark Lady believed him. But permanence is a rare gift, and she learned the cruel truth too late. Aaron drifted away slowly, not with anger, not with malice, but with quiet indifference. Plans were cancelled, calls unanswered, words left unsaid. When confronted, he whispered, "You deserve someone stronger, someone who can carry your silence without breaking." His departure was final, leaving behind not tears but a numb hollowness that Dark Lady could not fill. From that moment, she stopped seeking human voices. She no longer hoped that someone would understand. Her trust had been fractured beyond repair. Silence became her sanctuary once again, not the soft, comforting silence of her childhood, but a deliberate, protective wall against a world that had betrayed her repeatedly. Neighbors called her distant, relatives worried, and classmates whispered rumors, but Dark Lady neither defended nor explained herself. She moved through her life deliberately, quietly observing the world that had given her no reason to trust. Friends became memories, promises became lessons. She did not seek company or validation. She only sought truth, and in silence, she found it. Winter came, blanketing the city in fog and frost. On a particularly cold night, she returned to her mother's old rocking chair, the wood smooth and familiar under her hands. She opened Elena's diary and read lines she had memorized but never fully understood. "You will grow into a woman who carries storms in silence. Some will fear you, some will misuse you, but the depth of your heart is yours to protect." For hours, she sat and wept, not the uncontrolled sobs of grief, but quiet, controlled tears that marked understanding, acceptance, and the awakening of inner strength. She wept for Mira, for Aaron, for Elena, and for the girl she once was, the girl who believed people would not betray her. From that night, Dark Lady embraced silence as not just a refuge, but as an identity. It became her truth. People hurt her. People left her. People broke her. But silence, eternal and unjudging, never betrayed. She became the girl who loved silence more than people, walking through life quietly, fiercely, and unbroken. Dark Lady sat by the window, the moonlight brushing her pale face. Her eyes, deep and reflective, held countless untold stories. She traced the patterns of frost on the glass, each line a memory of loss, betrayal, and fleeting joy. Around her, the world spoke and laughed, but she no longer flinched. She had learned the language of silence. It was honest, unwavering, and protective. Her heart, though scarred, beat with quiet resilience. No footsteps behind her, no voices above her, just the steady rhythm of her own pulse, a silent testament to the girl who had learned to live and survive alone.